Hey coaches, what's up? Dave Bishop here for RTDB 2023. This will be our second session. The first session was just trying to explain to you what we were looking to do for 2023. Had several coaches reach out and get some great ideas and feedback. I would love for you again to consider emailing me at rtdbvideo@gmail.com. Give me some insight on what you would like to hear. What are some concepts that you want to see, whether it be wing tee, whether it be wishbone, or some of the other things that we talked about, split back veers, and other things like that. iPro. Okay. What I want to do today, again, is I want to remind you
He can
about our
see
YouTube
that
channel.
halfback clearing
Obviously,
him
you
out
know
of his
about it
peripheral
because
vision.
you're here. But
Then he
what
releases
I'd
into
love
the
for you to do,
flats.
coaches, if you're not
All right,
subscribed,
we're
go
going to
ahead,
run our
please
reverse
hit that
pass.
subscribe button. There's a lot of things in there. And then, like I said, Coach and I have some ideas that we want to do to try to get you guys hooked up and hooked into RTDB and what we can do in the future. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and I want to get into why the multiple wing tee offense. Now, a lot of times when coaches hear wing tee, the first thing that comes to their mind is double wing type mindset where you've got a slot on one side, a wing on the other, and it's Delaware. While we base a lot of our stuff with the plays from the Delaware, we are so far from the Delaware. It's crazy. No disrespect to Tubby Raymond, those guys that put together the system, but what we know is this. We don't number it like they do. We don't formation it like they do. We're very multiple. We truly add different nuances from other offenses into our system, which allows us to do the things we do. So, first thing is, why is it different? I'm going to tell you right here, simplicity. And you might say, well, why do I want to run something that's simple? Well, first off, when I use the word simplicity, I am talking about this. You can make it as simple as you want or as complex, but you always start at the basis. So here's what I mean by simplicity. In 2019, in week 10, what I saw from our 2018 game was we could run buck sweep, but there were some things that were stopping us from running it successfully, primarily the linebacker run through and the C gap. So we went in and we practiced what we call our knockoff technique. And I said, guys, we're going to create a package. And so our package was guard, tackle, tackle. The tight end was the wing. And I said, we're going to run buck, and they're not going to be able to stop it. Well, that night we ran buck sweep 31 times, 230 yards. Simple. One play, 31 times. The following week in the playoffs, I looked at our kids and said, how many of you want to win? They all raised their hand. If you want to win, we're going to run this play until I get tired of running it. So we ran blast, or we call it blast, other people call it belly. We ran it 45 times for 220 yards. That team touched the ball 3 times in the fourth quarter and 13 times total in the second half. They were much more athletic than we were, and in the end, we kept the ball away. Now, is that the way we want to play the games? No, absolutely not. But you do what you have to do. If you're good at what you do, you can line up and run the same thing over and over again. What is our offense? Base plays. Trap, buck, counter, belly, waggle, belly pass. What everybody thinks about when it comes to the wing tee offense. Okay. We're not a step motion team. We're a very static team. I like the static concept. I've tried the step motion. It just doesn't fit me as a coach. And since it doesn't fit me as a coach, it's not going to do well with us as a system. Other plays that we run, depending on the personnel we have, midline, I got a quarterback that can run it. We're going to run jet sweep. We're going to run pitch. Okay, quick pitch. We're going to run toss if I got a fullback who can motor. And then we're also going to have play action screens. So screens that work off of our run plays. And the thing about the next system is, next piece is complementary plays. And most of these are going to be off of our belly series. So we have belly sweep, we have belly keep, we have belly wheel, and we have belly reverse. All of those complementary plays off the belly. There are other things that we have off of the buck and things like that. But for the most part, that system itself, when you're talking about the buck series, they have complementary plays. Each one is its own complementary play. So, with that being said, let's look at the next item, versatility. This offense is extremely versatile. And the reason why I say that is because you can tailor it to your personnel. Who do you have this year? What are the type of kids you have? Do you have kids that can line up in shotgun? Do you have kids that can line up under center? What is it that you have? So I'm going to give you some ideas on personnel and how it's versatile. In 2021, our fullback, he rushed for over 1,600 yards. Our quarterback rushed for over 1,700 yards. Halfbacks were very young. And because they were young, they didn't rush for many yards, but it was versatile because that year our focus was fullback and quarterback. 2020, I had a halfback who rushed for 1,700 yards. I didn't have a number two halfback. So I put a kid who's a blocking back and made him play wing back, and he touched the ball 5 times all year. So it was kind of a dead position. But we said, let's feed the halfback. And then we also had a fullback position that rushed for over 1,000 yards. 2019, our halfbacks combined for 2,300 yards and our fullbacks for 900 yards. 2018, our halfbacks, okay, rushed for 2,400 yards. Again, our fullbacks for about 900 yards. And you can just see 2017, halfback and fullback, it was balanced, 1,000 yards each. 2016, fullback rushed for 1,600 yards, halfback 1,200 yards. So it's very versatile. You get it and you create an offense that's based around your best athletes. Most offenses do that. It's a little different in the wing T because of the way it's set up. So doesn't mean you can't do it in a regular offensive wing T in terms of just a regular Delaware. But what we like is the ability to tailor it to our kids. If you've got great receivers, you have the ability to throw the ball more. If you have a great quarterback, he's going to run the ball or throw the ball more. It just depends on what you have. Now, the other piece of versatility is packages. This is what I love about this offense. And so we have gun packages, we have under packages. And when it comes to the gun, I've run empty gun, I've run twins with a tight end wing on the other side. We've run trips with a wing. We have run, you name it. And then we've also run a kind of Auburn Gus Malzahn look to our wing T. The other thing, multiplicity. Here's what I'm talking about. 2016, I won't say the team we played, but we ran 29 formations in one game. My fullback was the guy. If you saw back in 2016, he rushed for over 1,600 yards, or 2015. And then what ended up happening was they were taking our fullback out of the game. So I said, okay, let's formation them. And we ended up running 29 formations in one game. Was it hard? No. Our kids understand our nomenclature when it comes to our formations. So we got in it, 29 formations in one game. We're able to take over the game, win it by running the heck out of our fullback, and get ourselves into the playoffs. The other piece is packages / groupings. We have our base personnel. We have what we call Buffalo, and our Buffalo it couldn't be, we call it Buffalo. It's a package that we put together, but it's like an H-back gun situation. We run it from under. And we have used tight ends. Sometimes we don't have another tight end, so we have used guard on 2 different occasions in 2 different years. But we've turned it into its own little offense, and it still incorporates the plays that we have always used in the systems. You can have a 2 tight package. You can have a 3 tight package. You can have a 3 tackle package. You can have what we call our spread package, where last year of the year before, we flexed our tight end, and then we had a flanker, and then on the other side we had a split end, and we had a slot that was a tight slot. So you have the ability to go ahead and do different things. We have our gun package, like I said, twins with a tight end wing on the opposite side, as well as tight end trips with a wing. And then empty, where we have a handful of formations. So you have a lot of multiplicity in what we do. You also have the ability to run shifts and motions. And I will tell you that years ago, I based a lot of what we did on shifts and motions because When I became head coach back in 2014, spread was just kind of coming in and people were starting to pop tempo. But because most defenses were still huddling, it was easy for me to shift and do motions because what happened is that time people still had a strong tackle and a weak tackle. They had a strong end and a weak end, and they had a strong linebacker and a weak linebacker. And so shifts and motions became a very big part of our offense. And then as we found ways to create issues for people, there was one game we flipped one person and they swapped 9 defenders. And so then we thought it would be fun to play with him. And then what we did is start shifting. And then we went back. And it was interesting. They ended up calling a timeout and getting out of it. Motions, you can motion backs out of the backfield. You can motion guys in. You can motion guys out. You can motion guys across. To have that ability to just use the phrase of eye candy. So we have that ability to do that within our offense. And we have used it and still use it a lot. We haven't huddled for a while, but you can go huddle. You can go no huddle, and you can go tempo or speed. I'll be honest with you, when it comes to our huddle, we haven't done it in years. And my mindset is this, and you've heard me talk about it. Most huddles are 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So you got to move 7 yards and then another 7 yards, 14 yards per play. If you average 50 plays, that's 700 yards. I don't care if your kids are walking, they're walking an extra 700 yards just because you choose to have a huddle. So the last few years, we've been no huddle. And then if we want to go tempo, speed, we just go ahead and we're going to call out one formation. We're going to get close to our sideline and we're going to go. And to be quite honest with you, I stop signaling. I just call the plays. And most people don't know what we're saying anyway. We have the ability to have audibles. And so there are a handful of plays where I might look at the quarterback and it might be trap. And I give him against an even front or even some odd fronts to say, hey, trap, and I'll tell him, you're going to call the direction. So he's got the ability to call the direction. If it's blast or belly, he's got the ability to call the direction. If it's midline, he's got the ability to call the direction, whether I want him to keep it or whether I want him to read it. So those are there. We have checks built into our system. When we have perimeter runs, whether it be jet sweep or quick pitch, if you can't block somebody that's on the edge, we just go ahead and we have a check to an inside play that takes advantage of the guy who's flexed outside. So we're able to run in the gap that they've created. All right. And then the other thing that we do that's interesting is we have different blocking schemes to target the defensive stud. So who's making the plays, right? If the free safety's making all the plays, how do we put in blocking schemes to go ahead and make sure that he's blocked? And so we have those built into our system regardless of the play. And so again, multiplicity in an ability for us to go ahead and create a system and an offense that puts people in bad positions. Guys, I loved unbalance. Okay. There's nothing wrong with unbalanced sets. I like to do that out of 2 tight ends, or I like to do it out of 3 tackles. And so, again, people have said for years you run the wing T. I beg to differ. We do things a lot differently. The coaches that have coached against us will tell you the same thing, that it's just so much harder when you consider all of the key busters that we put into our offense, how we block it, which is different than Delaware. And guys, it's just one thing that I think if you are interested in, that you go ahead, hit me up. I will teach you how to run it the way we do and have success. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate your time tonight, and we'll get back with you in the next week or so and have another session. And I'll probably pull out clips and talk to you about the things that we do in our multiple wing T system. And until then, RTDB.